Yeah, so how the theme came about was I came off reading The Master and Margarita, which has, fundamentally changed my DNA. And that question that came up was, how do we decide someone, or how do we deem someone as, good, what makes them a hero versus what makes them a villain? Because I feel like that line is so thin and it's never that clear, right? Like no one is all good, no one is all bad. Actually, most of us are all not all good.
Yeah.
um, so it was interesting, and I decided to build out this curriculum. And one of the things that I really loved from studying literature is there was always a mix of different types of writing. So there's always nonfiction, there's always a play, and I'm like, well, I want to read more Shakespeare, why not go with Shakespeare? And The Tempest is very, very interesting because it is classified as a comedy, not in the modern sense, but it implies a happy ending. Um, and it it touches on a lot of very dark themes. One of them that really took me by surprise was it talked about colonialism
Mm.
in that time period. And I'm like, I would love to explore that. I don't know what that looks like in that lens. And as a modern reader, how would I go into this, right? And yeah, it is daunting. Also, I'm not going to lie, the size of it was a good size play to start with when I'm diving back into Shakespeare on my own or without a teacher or a professor. So yeah, it made sense. It also had a lot of the themes of power and the shifting of power, and nature plays a role in that too, which I feel like is a power source we don't think about a lot, um, especially with climate change and all of that. So yeah, that's why I decided to add it to the curriculum.
No, that's cool. When I was in, I think it must have been sixth grade, our language arts teacher, we had to do the Tempest the play. So I remember, like,
That's so
I had to
cool.
like revisit it, but I was like, I remember this play, and because I was King Alonzo or whatever. So like that was like it was really cool to see you all reading it. So I guess the question becomes, do you see Prospero as a hero, or do you see him as a villain, or where you see his duality there?
Ooh. So it's complicated. He's in that gray space where we are not really sure, right? I think a lot of his magic, a lot of his power isn't even his. It comes from
Yep.
Sycorax, who is not even in the play. It comes from the island. It comes from what was there. Again, pulling in that aspect of colonialism and trying to make something into what it wasn't, by wielding that power in a way that wasn't supposed to be used. And I think his closing line throws that very question back to the audience's face, like whether or not like you think I am good, whether or not you think I am redeemed, as I've gone through all of this, as I've forgiven all these people, do you forgive me? And then you add that layer too, that this was Shakespeare's last full play.
Yep.
And someone in the group had brought up that in their version, it says the play was written by Prospero. And I'm like, ooh, so is this Shakespeare's way of, you know, inserting himself, inserting some sort of his role in this, right? Being the playwright. So, yeah, not a satisfying answer, but I think it's the one that is uncomfortable to sit with,
No, it's
right?
cool. Yeah, so it's like kind of what we've been talking about this whole time. Is like sometimes you gotta the text. There's a lot of ways to look at it, and even what you're saying with like the
Yeah.
last line, it kind of makes me think of like Rick Rubin and how he's like as an artist, like you work really really hard, and then you give it to the world, and you let the world decide whether it's good or bad. You know what I'm saying? But your process in building it all and your satisfaction comes before you put it out there. Once you put it out there, the audience is their job to
Yeah.
critique it, love it, hate it, everything in between. I think that's kind of like what you're talking about. The last line is like that's kind of what Shakespeare's getting at. Is like my appreciation comes from you guys talking about it, whether you like it or not. But I've already put this out there for you to interpret it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so subversive. And I think that that's a lens that people don't look at very often, the relationship between the art and the viewer, because that's a powerful one too.
Yep. And then also when you talk about heroes and villains, I think I don't know if you've seen it. It's on Apple now. It's Martin Scorsese's new documentary, And I never like I've been a fan of his of his movies for a long time, but just when he was talking about like how all of his movies have that human element, and it's like these people are not good, they're not bad. Whether you look at the Goodfellas, or you look at something like Taxi Driver, he talks about specifically as like one of those blurred lines of hero versus villain. I think like that when I was
Yeah.
watching it, and when you're talking like that, there is a lot of duality to us as humans. Like we're never good or just bad. We have a mix of both.
Absolutely. And also what I'm very interested in exploring with this is who's deciding who the hero or villain is, because that changes too, right? Depending on which end of the spectrum you sit. Someone who is typically celebrated as a hero could be the villain in your story. So interesting stuff.
If you enjoyed that clip, make sure you head over to www.bookupapp.com to download our app so you can connect with your favorite bookish content creators, start conversations, and start your own book club.